Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, Parler, and Instagram. And of course, be sure to visit www.mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
Walk off, son.
I'm Shona. I'll be checking on you regularly.
20 notes, is it not?
25. You want to start a disco? So you're going to help me or what? What do you think of that then?
Bands would be cool.
Such as?
Simple Minds.
Wait, what, how much?
What's the legacy?
We'd like to book the Vapors, the Skids.
Is XTC available?
Full house, eh?
Got to do it bigger. We'd like to book Pink Floyd, the Stones and Fleetwood Mac.
You're complete and utter fanny.
We decided to book one of your more up-and-coming bands.
Iron Maiden.
Who?
We're after a venue.
You want any decent venue in this town, you have to ask Des Fergie.
Des Fergie.
I know what I'm doing.
Sure, my patients thought that too.
You've let your ambition blind your ability.
You know me.
3 laps.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 345. Releasing in Australia May 12 on digital and on demand is Schemers, the true story of how rock promoter and manager David McLean first got his start as a young man in Dundee, Scotland during the late 1970s, promoting up-and-coming bands that culminated in a hugely ambitious Iron Maiden show that changed David's life forever. An entertaining blend of biography, drama, and cheeky crime caper, Schemers is also written and directed by the very same David McLean, who is the lead character in the film. And I'm happy to say that David joins me now on the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. David, I thank you very much for joining me today.
Great to be here, Matt. Good. Look forward to talking.
And so am I. And it's really interesting how when I came across this movie, I love rock, I love hard rock, and I've read a lot of books and I've seen a lot of documentaries. You don't really come across that much movies, especially biography movies made by the very same person who based on the life it's about. A lot of people do go over the book route, or if they go with film, they do the whole documentary thing. You chose to do a narrative feature film based on your life experiences. And was it always kind of like an ambition of yours to have your story told in this medium of film?
No, not really. I only did the movie because I thought a book would be too difficult. I went to Waterson's bookstore in Bangkok one day, and I thought, wow, there's about 2,000 books here. I mean, I'd never got on the shelf, So I thought making a film will be a lot easier. Well, that's what I thought anyway. So that's how I ended up doing the film, because I read that 99% of people who try to make a film, they never get it finished. And then I thought, if I could get in that last 1%, there can't be that many films. So at least it'll have a chance of being seen. But the book, there's thousands and thousands of books. So it was never a big ambition to make a film. It was just the band I was working with while I managed Placebo were having some downtime. And they'd always said to me, look, Dave, why don't you write a book, or why don't you write a film or something? So I just did that instead, just while they were in the downtime. And then it kind of snowballed a bit from there, really.
That snowball, during that journey into making this film, when did you make the decision that you would be the one to direct it? Have you dabbled in film beforehand? Did you have say people in the music industry who you knew also did film stuff as well, and you could lean on them in regards to experience of how to make this film and make sure you were in that 1% that got your film on screens?
It was a bit weird, really. I mean, we'd done 3 or 4 documentaries before. We did one, Placebo, when they played at Angkor Wat in Cambodia, which was pretty cool. Then we did a documentary of Placebo on the Trans-Siberian Express from someplace away in the east of Russia up to Moscow. 12 shows. So that won a few awards. And then we did another one. We did one at the Mercy Centre in Bangkok, about this guy, Father Joe, this priest that's been there 50 years. So that's coming out on, when's that? So that's going to get broadcast in about 3 or 4 weeks. So we've done sort of documentaries before. But the thing with the film was it was in 2 shoots. We had a director on the first shoot and it didn't work out. So we had to can a lot of the stuff. And I thought, well, I might as well direct it myself, the second shoot. So I did that. So I took my editor guy to Bangkok. We wrote 15 new scenes, went back to Dundee, and we shot the second shoot in January when it was like -10. And the first shoot was in May when it was like 80 degrees and hot. So it was weird how we managed to make it look like it was at the same time. Because luckily, although it was -10, it was like really sunny. But say, for example, the scene where the guys are smoking a bit of puff down on the pier, that was -10 that day, and they were in a car, all covered in sort of hot water bottles and blankets. Then they came out to shoot the scene. It was really weird. So I kind of learned as I went along there. So it was an experience to say the least. But it kind of turned out no bad for the first attempt.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of the experience, was there, while you're directing this film, is there anything you came across that you could not foresee happening? Like, I'd imagine in some ways there's some parallels to the story that you were filming, because you as a young man were heading into a world that you had no experience with, and you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. It was a kind of a similar situation with directing. And if so, was there things in directing that you did not anticipate happening? But once it did, you kind of got a handle of it and kind of knew what you were doing after a little while?
No, it was just like I say, the first shoot where I was the producer, and it was difficult because my mum was ill and she had cancer and she died during the shoot and stuff like that.
Very sorry.
And I had to fly to Italy and Spain and do some placebo stuff. So I left it in the hands of this other guy, and it just didn't work out right. So I thought, look, what am I going to do? I can either can it, or we can reshoot it. We can save what we've got. So basically, it was really easy, the second shoot, because the editor guy I had, this guy Khalid Spiewak, who was brilliant. Me and him did it together, and it was so easy, really, because you're just really directing people about what you used to do. It'd be like, I'd say, well, look, I do this. So this is the way I do this, Conor. I do this, I do that, whatever. And John would act like this, and Scott would have done that, and Tara, you know what I mean? It was like, because you're just replaying it in your memory. It's not like fiction, you know? So you're just like you're going back, okay, a long period of time, 35 years or whatever it was, but you're just remembering what you did on the day and what you felt like on the day and how nervous you felt like on the day. And you know what I mean? It's very easy just to tell people what it was like. So, I mean, I didn't feel it was any, definitely wasn't difficult, you know. I mean, the next one will be a lot easier, that's for sure. But, you know, it was a good experience.
You mentioned Conor. Conor Berry plays you in the movie. How did you find Conor? Did you know of him beforehand? Did you have to do a lot of auditions? What was the process like in finding him to play the younger version of yourself?
Yeah, well, we just had these auditions in London and Dundee. And, we saw him, thought he looked great, acted great, had a good attitude. Then we went out for a coffee and a croissant in Covent Garden, had a good chat for about an hour. And he was just a really, really nice guy. He had a really easygoing sort of manner, and I thought, if you can bring that to the screen, it'll be really good, because he just had the look, and he had this kind of haunted look as well that I always used to have, where it was like everything's going to go wrong, there's going to be a disaster, like, you know what I mean? That kind of gaunt look, not gaunt, but you know, that sort of face that was like, it was a bit cheeky, but it was all like, also looked a bit worried all the time, you know? So I just thought he'd be perfect for it, and he was really good. And I brought him out to Bangkok a few times, went through scenes and all that, and then he came around to my house. He met my mum and all that sort of stuff. Had dinner, stayed over. You know, we really got to know him well. So it was a good vibe on the set. You know, I think it's important to have a good feeling.
You filmed
a good atmosphere. You know.
Yes, absolutely. And you filmed the movie in Dundee, in Scotland. You know, it's interesting. I was reading up about Dundee, how recent articles about that city is that now it is seen as a really kind of cool and hip kind of spot where food and art and a digital entertainment industry, and especially has really thrived. And I was actually reading an article just before this interview from GQ magazine from like 2015, which called Dundee Britain's coolest little city, which I'd imagine maybe back in 1979, in which this movie was made, Dundee wouldn't have that label on it. What was Dundee like back then in 79 for people who don't know, me and myself especially, and how did you go about kind of recapturing that spirit in that look for your movie?
Well, it was weird because Dundee at the time, that was the time the oil boom, the North Sea oil thing, it was all kicking off big time. And Dundee had the best ports, the best facility. But basically the council in Dundee, there was always all sorts of stuff going on there, You can't really go into it on interviews, but Dundee ended up getting nothing and Aberdeen got everything, right? And Aberdeen didn't have as good facilities as Dundee. So Dundee's unemployment was something like 21%, right? And Aberdeen's was about 3%, right? so all the stuff that really should have come to Dundee went to Aberdeen. So there's high unemployment. There was a lot of gangs and fights, and there was a lot of factories were shutting down. I mean, there was big factories like I used to work in Timex and NCR and the jute mills. They were all winding down. There was thousands of people going out of work. I lived on a housing scheme where it was packed with like glue sniffers and junkies, and there was always something going on. It was a bit rough and tumble, but I mean the people are great. I mean the people had loads of adversity. Yeah, but they were always good. They always had a good sense of humour, And it used to be called Mini Chicago. The Glasgow people used to call Dundee Mini Chicago. It was quite funny. So it was not like it is today, because today, I think they've spent in the last 4 or 5 years over £1 billion developing the waterfront.
Yes.
So it was very difficult to get a decent job. There was really nothing to do. I mean, it's totally different now. There's all these flashy restaurants, and well, there was the last time I was there, but they might all shut now because of the COVID thing. Who knows? But it's totally transformed. It was rough and tumble back in the day, but it is what it is. And they had a great football team, so Dundee United. So that was my team. So that's one thing that was great.
The film Schemers opens with this notorious quote by Hunter S. Thompson about the music business. And for people who don't know, it reads, "The music business is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs. There's also a negative side," which is just such a nice caveat at the end there. And I've read that before years ago when I was in university, and I was reminded of that quote when I watched your film. You yourself have been in the music business for quite a while now, and your beginnings in Dundee shows a lot of nefarious figures in the industry, especially in regards to venue management, etc. Over the decades, the music industry has changed quite considerably. The record industry, especially with downloads, etc. What about the venue industry, though? I mean, bands need places to play, and the only way you can play is live. I know during COVID, people are doing streaming, but it's just not the same. Live venues will come back, I think. What is it like now, especially since you've been in the industry for over 30 years now? Has it changed much in regards to that kind of nefarious kind of element in venue management, or have things gotten better over the decades?
Oh, well, you got to remember, things are pretty much the same, to be honest. I mean, but my experience back then was only in Dundee. But since then, I've been with Placebo to about 70 countries. And, you go to Colombia, Mexico, Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, whatever, and China, Japan. I mean, everybody's got a story, I mean, to be a promoter, number one, you've got to be a bit of a gambler. This is if you're an independent promoter, if what I call a real promoter, right? A real one, not like Live Nation, who are just like bean counters or something like that, who buy up all these independent ones and set the prices and set the gold standard and tell you what to do and all that sort of stuff. I mean, but your independent promoter who likes the music usually has to come up a greasy pole to get to where they are. Like so you meet all sorts of characters, obviously, but it's not changed. It's probably just on a higher level because instead of playing little pubs or something with 500, you're doing arenas with 10,000 or something, and there's much more at stake, you know. So you meet all sorts, yeah, all sorts. It's been an interesting ride, I'll tell you. I mean, I've had some very interesting situations in some countries, but I'm still here. I'm still here to tell the tale. That's a good thing, you know?
Absolutely. That tale culminates in an Iron Maiden gig in June of 1980 at Card Hall. You know, in the movie, you really captured that stress and the emotional roller coaster that you went through in trying to put that concert on. I'm just curious, though, all the years that you've been doing this now, did you ever run into Iron Maiden again? And did you ever share the story about how you put that gig on?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was like when we were doing the first shoot, they were playing in Aberdeen at Aberdeen Exhibition Hall, and it's only up the road for Dundee. It was only 60 miles away. So I talked to the manager and tried to work out some sort of way we could do something together, but it couldn't happen. Then I I did the film anyway, and then they saw a cut of the film, and I was in Japan, and I was in this bar in Tokyo, and I got a phone call, and at first I thought it was my friend, so I started talking about someone else, and the guy goes, "Like, do you know who you're talking to?" I went, "No, it's Ben, isn't it?" He says, "No, it's Rod Smallwood, Iron Maiden's manager." I went, "Oh, well, Rod, how's it going, man?" He goes, "Well," I went, "Look, I can read your mind. I can read your mind. I can tell you that you're going to tell me you don't like the way Iron Maiden are represented, and you don't like the actor playing you, and whatever." He says, "Exactly." I said, "Tell you what we'll do. We can change everything." He says, "Dave, if you can reshoot the Iron Maiden bit, I'll support the film all the way." Right? So that was that. So actually, we did 3 shoots. We did the first shoot in May, the second shoot in January, and then just before the film was kind of released or whatever, we shot 2 days doing the Iron Maiden thing. So I talk to Iron Maiden all the time, and they love the film. In fact, Rod Smallwood, the manager, when we were rewriting the dialogue for the bit with him and the rider and all that, he actually wrote half the part because he wanted it to be like this or like that. So yeah, we got it good. And one of the band, I can't remember what one it was, but at Christmas he wanted a copy of the film, and he got it wasn't at Christmas, it was for his birthday party or something. He invited all his friends round to some private cinema he had. So I think they liked it. So it was good. And then they gave us footage of one of the live concerts, which I think was at the Rainbow in London. Okay. So in the original film, that went to what do you call it, the festivals, we never had that. So the one that was released, we actually got the live footage. So yeah, I got in touch and we reminisced about the gig and what a disaster I was on the day. Because that's all true. I never had any rider. My mum had to come and make the sandwiches, my mum and dad. My mum had to spend her holiday money going to Asda to buy all the bacon and eggs and all that. And we never had any. I had to go and get these guys off the street to be the crew. All that sort of stuff. It was ridiculous, you know. But so obviously we had a good laugh about that. And yeah, so that's it. So hopefully see them again soon when I'm back in London. We've got a dinner planned the next time I'm back. The last time I was back, it had to be cancelled because of the COVID thing. But when I go back, I'll see them.
Awesome.
They've got this hotel up in the West End someplace. Awesome. So it's good. Yeah, it's good.
One of the few bands I have yet to see live yet, which really bumps me up because hopefully they come to Australia again when all this COVID stuff dies down like it's saying, because I never got a chance yet. So,
they're amazing. But and they're headlining Download in England next year, I think it is now. They were meant to headline it last year. It got cancelled last year, cancelled this year. I now think it's next year. It's and you know they've got such a following. God knows how many they've got on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. But they've been supportive of the film, so I really look forward to seeing them. In fact, I was going to go and see them in Tokyo. We'd kind of planned it. Because Rod recommended this bar in Tokyo. He said, "Oh, if you're in Tokyo, just go to this bar. It's some railway carriage place in Shibuya. And if you mention my name, you'll get everything for nothing and you can have a great time." So, that was good.
Awesome.
It's cool.
The movie ends with the younger version of yourself going to London, hopes high, future unknown. Are we going to see a sequel to this movie?
Sequel's getting written just now, and honest to God, I'm not joking. It's brilliant. It's really funny. I'm writing it with this guy. I can't tell you who it is, but he just sent me the latest kind of treatment this morning. So we're going to have the script ready. What is this? We're in just now, May or something. Script will be ready by the end of June. They're going to start shooting it in October. And it's basically centres around me and Scott, Scott Young in the film. I don't know if you read it to the end or if you researched what happened to Scott, but it's Scott and I in London, and it covers 1985 to 1994. 1986 to 1994. So I do all my stuff. I think I'm going to go to London, conquer the music business. I end up working for the council, doing variety acts, calling out the bingo, chicken in a basket gigs, doing tea dances. So it's hardly the rock and roll dream. And then it finishes up, I'm doing Nirvana and Green Day and all that sort of stuff. And Scott does his thing. If you just Google in Scott Young, Dundee, you'll see what happened to Scott. So he goes his way, I go my way. It's very killer soundtrack. It's exciting. It's dark but funny. So it's a good story, and it encompasses a lot of indie bands that you might not have heard of, but big bands as well. Because there's some great independent bands that went right under the radar. So I'm going to use some of their tracks and then shell out some money for a couple of biggies, just to really give it a bit of boomph, So that's it. Yeah, it's all happening.
So for everyone listening out there, May 12 on demand and digital in Australia and New Zealand as well. Schemers. I highly recommend everyone check out that film. And David, I thank you very much for your time today. Congratulations with the film. It's really cool, I think, that you're able to bring your story to the screen in this way, and you did it in such a great way as well. So congrats once again, and thank you for your time.
Hey, Matt, cheers. That's